Happy Thursday. Welcome into Send It In, presented by BetMGM right here on the BetQL network. Day 4, live from Mandalay Bay here in Las Vegas. Another great show for you guys today. Really good sports Thursday. We got one of the best non-majors in the golfing season. Waste Management Open already underway. We'll talk about some 3 balls later on in the day. Scotty Scheffler, Hideki Matsuyama, one of the marquee matchups. We will also get into some more Super Bowl props. We got the NBA trade deadline today. We will look at what's happened there in some futures markets. Lucy Burge will join me later on in the show, and then we'll give out some best bets for the day. We're red hot in our best bets out in Vegas, so let's keep that going. As always, any questions, comments, bets that you guys have, let us know. Go to twitch.tv/BetQL, YouTube /Odyssey Sports, or Twitter and Instagram at the BetQL app. But for the third straight day in a row, we got a guest live on set as Glass is in session. And we got Jared Smith joining the show, betting analyst for Fox Sport Radio. Jared, great to meet you, man. Appreciate you being on the show. How's everything going for you?
Everything's great, PJ. I mean, first of all, the set, like I've done shows in this area before, in the little corner over there. Yeah. This is awesome what you guys have here. And just it's Vegas. Like, sure. The Super Bowl's in Vegas, but the Super Bowl's never been in Vegas before. So it's really, if it hasn't been in Vegas yet, it hasn't been done. So the vibes this week are just impeccable.
So you said we were talking off air, you said you've been living here about 18 months. Yeah. So you've gotten accustomed to some of the big events. I know they had some Formula One here. You've obviously seen a March Madness here.
Stanley Cup.
That's right. That was a big one. Like, where does this week kind of compare to all those now that we're, only 3 days away from kickoff?
This sounds crazy. It's just a normal week. So my mom works in advertising, and her big convention every year is in Vegas. So she's been coming here. And so one time I went to the convention, I poked my head in. It was at the Mandalay Convention Center, and we're on Radio Row. We're here. It's kind of the same. And obviously that's not to diminish the greatness of the Super Bowl. But like I said, this is what Vegas was built for. This is the type of event that literally the town was built for. So I think the fact that it's here, just the historical significance of the game being here, the crazy gambling NFL drama that's taken place over the last 2 decades, but it does kind of just feel like a normal week where there's an event going on and people are excited, but it doesn't feel like out of control.
I was walking around. Urban Meyer was sitting at the restaurant, the table behind me at dinner last night. You see everybody's in the town.
Everyone's in town this week.
Crazy.
But the volume of people I don't think is different than when those big CES,
right?
Thousands and thousands of people come into town for that. Sometimes towns get overwhelmed if it's not in the right spot. That's not Vegas. It was built for this.
So we got the big game. We got San Francisco. We got Kansas City, Super Bowl 58 on Sunday. Your first thoughts, when we got this matchup? First off, for AFC Championship week, did you like San Francisco in the game? Did you like Baltimore?
I was on Baltimore.
Oh,
I was on Baltimore and San Francisco. I had the over in the Niners, which won. Obviously, the Niners got backdoored late, but I thought, if it was a perfect teaser spot for the Niners in that game, and it would have covered a teaser number if we would have had other games available to tease. But I think the right teams are in it. I thought it was Baltimore's year, but I was wrong. And I think Patrick Mahomes is one of those guys that likes to prove people wrong. And that kind of brings us to where we are now, because if this game was played in week 10 and the line was 2, I don't think the pros would really pay much attention to it, and they probably would hammer San Francisco.
No question.
But it's not in week 10.
Yeah.
This game is being played on the biggest stage in the brightest of cities, in the brightest lights. There is that Mahomes tax. The question that pros and, us recreational gamblers kind of have to figure out, how much is too much for the Mahomes tax? I guess we're kind of there, but man, how can I look myself in the mirror on Monday if make the smart bet and take the Niners, and then they end up losing the game, and I'm like, you really faded Pat Mahomes 2 straight weeks as an underdog? You're an idiot.
I think that's the problem that a lot of people are facing.
That's a dilemma.
Are you more impressed that San Francisco has gotten to this game and they really shouldn't be, considering that they should have lost to Green Bay, they should have lost to Detroit? Or are you more impressed with Kansas City, the fact that going into this postseason run, Mahomes has never been in the faced on the road in the playoffs, and obviously beats Buffalo, beats Baltimore? Which one were you most impressed by? San Francisco, who was dominating teams in the NFC all year, or was it Kansas City who was able to go on the road and win a couple
Good
games?
Question. I think when you're watching Mahomes play and you're watching the Chiefs, it has felt different this year. I think as good as they've been in this run, this year did feel different. So the fact that they've gotten there with, for the most part, defense and pluckiness, good timing, I think that makes what the Chiefs have been able to do impressive. But then you say, well, they've got the best player in the sport on their team. Like, even if they are having a quote unquote like down year, they should still be able to make a run. The Niners, I know there's a lot of Brock Purdy haters out there, but when the pressure was at its highest, they went down the field and scored. And I don't know if they're going to have the same opportunity or I guess margin for error in this game that they had against Green Bay and Detroit when they were the heavy presumptive favorites, double digits, 7 touchdown or 7 points plus. Obviously, this is a much tighter line, so the margin for error much smaller. But you've got to be impressed with Brock Purdy and his poise, because this is kind of the moment. And in those two big moments, in those two games, he delivered. So I think it's kind of similar to the line. Pretty tight. But I think I would say San Francisco being able to get over those obstacles, yeah, they don't have Mahomes. So I would say what they've done is pretty impressive.
When you look at Purdy in this matchup, is there anything that you're doing with his props? Is there anything that you're doing with Mahomes? Because this has been a very unlike Chiefs postseason run, right? They're not throwing for as many yards. They're not throwing for as many touchdowns. It's more completions. It's kind of like their passing game, Jared, almost to a sense, feels like an extension of the run. It's methodical. It's long drives. And then they just lean on that defense in the second half and just close you out. So if it's Purdy, if it's Mahomes, is there anything that you're looking at with either quarterback?
I think I always go rushing attempts, rushing yards in these games. The rushing yards for Purdy's been bought up. You can probably still find a 12.5. The attempts at 3.5, I saw plus money on that. Like, again, kneel downs count, guys. So, and girls, they count for this. I think attempts makes a ton of sense. In terms of the style of play, the Chiefs are, just because they have the best player in the sport doesn't mean he has to flex his muscle. And he has taken his medicine throughout the season. I think there's been a humbling experience to this year for them, where the Raiders game happened and they probably all had a kumbaya after that. And they said, listen, Patrick, you can be a hero if you want. You're going to look good a lot, but you're not going to win games with this offense if you play that way.
Right.
And since that game, to your point, short, quick passing game, but the Niners know that too. Do they take away, like, I'm trying to game script this out. Like, if they just say everyone can beat us but Kelsey,
right?
What is that another option? Rashee Rice, absolutely, but you got to have another one. So I do think there's a cat and mouse, obviously, with a 2-week gap with how teams span it out. But it's really tough not to say that the Chiefs don't have an edge tactically, because I think the Niners defense is the worst of the 4 units on the field.
I would agree. What are you doing with McCaffrey in this game? So much was made about that game plan that Baltimore had against the Chiefs. You watch what Buffalo was able to do. That's how you beat the Chiefs. Their defense is so good through the air. That secondary is excellent. And the Niners have the best running back in football. So does Shanahan overthink this? Like, is it simple as you just run and keep running CMC, use a little bit of Debo? Like, if you're looking at rushing props, who do you like in the game?
Well, I think the strategy I've heard a lot of pros say is, because of the prominence on that side of the ball with what he's done, the number's going to keep getting bet up and up and up, just like Kelsey. Like, if you bet Kelsey last Monday when the props dropped, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. If you bet McCaffrey last week, you're feeling pretty good. I think that number's going to keep climbing. I think if you want to make a sharp move, you just wait for it to keep climbing. Then on Sunday morning, you bet the under. But that doesn't match the game script. To me, the game script is San Francisco needs to run the ball, and they need to keep Mahomes on the sidelines and exploit what I think is really the only true weakness of this Chiefs defense.
Yeah.
I think at the linebacker level, they're a little bit better than maybe the numbers say. Up front, as good as Chris Jones is, maybe it's not in the case in this game because it's a Super Bowl, but his knock in his career has always been against the run. And I think across the defensive line, they've struggled in that spot. I trust Spags a lot. And I think he's, to me, the difference maker in this game, where Mahomes and Kelsey and offense, that's great. If Spags draws up a good game plan and doesn't allow the Niners to run it as effectively as maybe they want to, forces it into Purdy's hands, that's where I think the Chiefs really have an edge.
Any novelty props in this game? Or you were talking about maybe the defense and how much you trust Spags. Do you like a defensive touchdown?
Sacks.
Are you looking at the kickers? You like
Under sacks. Okay. And that's because of the quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And I love, to your point, the running games are going to be prominent, takes away from the sacks. Purdy and Mahomes, 2 and 3 pressure to sack rate in the NFL this year. The big handicap for me last year in this game, the Eagles, all I heard, best defensive line in football, most sacks ever. How many sacks do they have in that game? 0. Because Mahomes, the toughest quarterback in the NFL to sack. This year, they don't have the edge in that department because Purdy's also very difficult to sack. Last year, I just bet the Chiefs to have more sacks in the game at like plus 105, which was a fantastic bet. But Hurts takes a lot of sacks. Purdy doesn't. Under 4.5 sacks in the game or under 2.5 for the Niners sacks, to me, it is really hard to sack Mahomes. And the Niners are kind of average this year in sack rate. So I think this is going to be a very on-schedule, short, quick passing game, running game. It's going to be tough to get the 5 sacks.
We're getting a question here from Twitch for you, Jared. BMR 5057 wants to know, what is your favorite fade play in the Super Bowl?
Favorite? I don't even know what that means. Favorite? You mean like fading a person?
Yeah, fading a person.
A handicapper to make a pick?
Yeah.
Man, that's mean. I don't want to fade anyone. We got good vibes here in the. I mean, there's the fade god, right?
Sure.
But I don't want to bash anyone's picks here on the air. Everyone's got great picks, unless they lose, then they're terrible.
That's how it goes.
That's usually how it goes. But I'm not. Let's leave it at this. I'm not fading Mahomes. I can't do it.
No, would I? I gave out Brandon Ayuk earlier in the week under receiving yards against this secondary.
Okay, here I'll give you a good one. How about Elijah Mitchell? Under whatever, because now he might not play in the game, which would mean it's voided, and that is an issue. You might have a lemon, but I think he's going to be on the field at some point, either in a blocking down, like a third down blocking team to kick McCaffrey off. But if I'm Shanahan, what do you save McCaffrey for? Like, this is the game. You just give him 30, 35 touches. So I don't see Elijah Mitchell having a big prominent role in the backfield here. So take the Elijah Mitchell unders. There you go.
Last question for you: Super Bowl MVP. Anybody that you bet?
So the gap you're looking for here is a 30-cent difference between money line and the actual price. So Chiefs plus 110 on the money line. If you get Mahomes at plus 140, from what I'm hearing, I'm not the math genius, but the math geniuses who I'm lucky enough to speak to on a weekly basis, they say that is enough of a gap to account for the random scenario where the Chiefs win and Mahomes isn't the MVP. I think there's only one. We're all knowing what it is. But even it is that scenario, and Kelce has like 3 touchdowns. You're not giving them MVP to Mahomes with 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. Like, I think that is a really, really solid correlated wager to make. If you like the Chiefs, you get a few extra pennies on your dollar there.
It is interesting to see the MVP prices for the quarterbacks in this game, pretty especially. I mean,
that
especially
is
for
unique.
The favorite, right?
I agree, 100%.
You normally don't see that. One more for you. Parley 69 wants to know any first touchdown props
Kelce
for you.
100%.
That's a good one.
And it sounds chalky. Go look up the red zone targets for the Chiefs. It's just, he's the man. And the tough part is, I don't know who's getting the ball first. Prior Super Bowls we've known, because one team loves to take the ball. For example, the Seahawks-Broncos Super Bowl like 10 years ago. Every game that year, the Broncos won the toss and took the ball. Every game that year, the Seahawks won the toss and deferred. You knew going in, the Broncos were getting the first possession. Now, he didn't know the snap was going to go over Peyton Manning's head, but you knew they were getting first possession. Everyone defers today. So it's really tough to figure out which team's going to get it first, but that is an angle. If you can find an angle where you think, hey, this team might take the ball if they receive, it probably won't happen this week. That would be a more advantageous spot to bet the first touchdowns.
Great stuff. It's Jared Smith, betting analyst for Fox Sports Radio, joining us here on Send It In. Jared, great meeting you, man.
Appreciate you, bud.
Meeting you. Great stuff. All right, let's keep it moving here on Send It In, presented by BetMGM. We're going to talk a little golf now as we go golfing with Glasser. We got the Waste Management Open right now in TPC Scottsdale already underway. Some big names on the course, some big names coming up later on in the day. I'm going to bring in Shawnee Sharp, the producer here, throw out some 3 balls that we're looking at. Shawnee, what's our first group of golfers?
PJ, the first group we got here is Minwoo Lee, Keith Mitchell, and Ben Martin.
I'm going to go with Minwoo Lee in this group, Sean, at plus 170. Now, Keith Mitchell and Ben Martin, all 3 of these guys are long hitters. Minwoo Lee would be a guy that I would watch this year to potentially win a major. Like, his upside is that good. He hits bombs off the tee. He's an elite ball striker, and he's a good scrambler as well, and that's what you need to be at this course. I like the price, plus 170. Minwoo's going to be a guy, he's played in good environments before. This is as good as it gets in the game of golf. Waste Management, there'll be 250,000 people on the grounds every day. So I'll take Minwoo Lee plus 170 in the 3-ball.
All right, next up we got a group teeing off at 2:33 p.m. Eastern Time. It's the marquee matchup. You mentioned them earlier. Scotty Scheffler, Wyndham Clark, and Hideki Matsuyama.
Man, I like all 3 of these guys this week, which makes it tough for who's going to do the best in round 1. Because I like all 3, I think you got to go with the guy with the best price, and Hideki at plus 300. He loves this course. It's one of his favorites. He's a 2-time winner here. He really is never out of contention. He seems to always finish in like the top 20, top 25. Scotty, it's hit or miss with him. Like, he's usually always two under, like 3-4 shots back of the lead, if not leading or right behind in the first round. Wyndham Clark is obviously coming off his win at Pebble Beach, so he's in good form. But I just like the price. I think all these guys, their games fit really well at this course. And I think Hideki's got a great chance of getting off to a solid start. So I'll take Hideki at the plus 300.
Next up, we got a group teeing off also at 2:33 p.m. Eastern. Kurt Kitayama, Nick Taylor, and Brandt. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name.
Yeah, Brandt Snedeker. These ones are tough. I really don't like any of them, but I think I'll go with Nick Taylor if I had to choose. Snedeker has just really never been a factor on the PGA Tour for the last 4 or 5 years. Kurt Kitayama won the Arnold Palmer Invitational last year. Hasn't really been the same golfer since. And then Nick Taylor has been really good at times. Last season, he won the Canadian Open. He's kind of the safest play. And the fact that, we're getting the second best odds with him in this group, I'll take it at plus 140.
Next up, we got a pretty fun group here at 2:44 p.m. Eastern time. Justin Thomas, Cam Young, and Adam Scott.
Yeah, this has got to be Justin Thomas. Everybody is on Justin Thomas this week. He is the second shortest odds to win behind Scheffler at 10-1. He loves this golf course. He's played here the last 6 times, and he's finished in the top 20. And we've talked about it throughout the week. This is the 4th most predictive tour or course on the PGA Tour. JT always plays well here, and he's playing really well. This is the best his game has looked in about a year plus. I think he could have another big tournament this week. I like him to get off to a hot start. I like him at the plus money. I'll take JT plus 115.
Next up, we got a group teeing off at 2:55 p.m. Eastern time. Sam Burns, the Postman, JT Poston, and Siwoo Kim.
Yeah, this is a tough group. Sam Burns, a lot of people are high on him this week. I just can't get there. I kind of like Poston at the plus 180 price. Such a good putter. He's kind of hit or miss at this course. You don't really know what you're going to get, but I just think people think so highly of Sam Burns this week. He's a little bit too high that there's some value on Poston in the 3-ball, so I'll take JT plus 180.
All right, I got 2 more groups here. The next one is Corey Connors, K.H. Lee, and Ches Reavie.
Yeah, this one's tough. It came down to Corey Connors or K.H. Lee. They call K.H. Lee TPC Lee, and we're at TPC Scottsdale this week. He loves TPC courses, and getting him at the plus 188 is good enough for me. Corey Connors, again, we've talked about it all week. Ball strikers. You got to be accurate. You got to be precise. Corey Connors is just that. His short game isn't great, though, which I think could get him into trouble. I'll take K.H. Lee. Man, the guy plays TPCs as good as anybody, and he normally gets off to hot starts, so I'll take him at the plus 188.
All right, last group we got here for you. Billy Horschel, Taylor Moore, and Zach Johnson teeing off at 3:17 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, all 3 of these guys, they're just hit or miss. At the end of round 1, they could be in the top 5, or they could be in the top 100. You just don't know what you're going to get. Zach Johnson's been playing here for years. He did much better in his younger years than he has in the past, but he's just kind of the most steady for me. I think they're betting him, you have the least amount of risk. So I'll take him, and you get the best price at plus 225. So I'll take Zach Johnson in that 3-ball with Taylor Moore and Billy Horschel. All right, moving on now as we go off the glass. We got NBA trade deadline Thursday, and already a lot of news going on in the association. To catch you guys up, if you're not, you don't know what's going on, Spencer Dinwiddie has gone from the Raptors to the Nets for Dennis Schroeder. Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks have gone from the Pistons to the Knicks, so that's a big get. Dallas has gotten Daniel Gafford from the Wizards. Gordon Hayward has gone from the Charlotte Hornets to OKC. In return, the Hornets have gotten Trey Mann, Davis Bertans, and some draft compensation. Buddy Hield has gone to the 76ers. Obviously, Joel Embiid is hurt. Tyrese Maxey's a little banged up, so they went out and got themselves a shooter in Buddy Hield. And then the Toronto Raptors traded for Ochai Agbaji and Kenny Olynyk. And in return, the Utah Jazz got Otto Porter Jr. and Kyra Lewis Jr. So trade deadline, obviously, we're getting closer and closer to the deadline. More trades should happen throughout the day, but that is what we have had so far. As for, we thought a good way to kind of look at this from a betting perspective when dealing with the NBA trade deadline. BetMGM right now has the make to miss playoff market. we thought it would be a great idea to kind of look at some of these teams who have odds to make and miss the playoffs, and if we foresee them maybe making a move at the trade deadline, and if there would be some value on any of these teams to possibly pick up a player that could help them or make their odds go up in the futures market. In the Eastern Conference, there was really only one team that stuck out to me, and that was the Orlando Magic to miss the playoffs at plus 400. Now, they have a lot of wiggle room right now. They're 6.5 games up as the 7 seed on the 11 seed Brooklyn. I expect them to be in the play-in tournament, and if they end up being the 7 seed, then all they have to do is win one game, and they go to the playoffs. If they're the 7 or the 8 seed, or if they're the 8 seed, either one, then all they have to do is win one of their 2 playoff games, and they're in. I think they'll probably be one of those. But at plus 400, I think it's good value to have Orlando to miss the playoffs. Then on the Western Conference side, the Lakers at minus 110 to make the playoffs. I kind of like that as well. LeBron has hinted on social media and through interviews that there might be some changes coming for the Lakers. And Kate Constable's on yesterday talking about this. They did win the in-season tournament early on in the year. We know the Lakers can turn it on in stretches when they're healthy and, when the schedule kind of becomes favorable for them. But there's just too much experience on this team. Obviously, LeBron and Anthony Davis leading the way. I do expect them to make a move. And I think with New Orleans and Zion and who knows what's going to happen there, and Dallas, if Luka gets hurt, there's a lot of potential. Probably there are some hypotheticals, but there's some potential for the Lakers to make the playoffs. I trust LeBron to find a way to get them to the quarterfinals. So at a pick 'em, minus 110, I'll take the Lakers to make the playoffs. But the Magic and the Lakers, those were the 2 teams that stood out to me. Now time for Model Making Money as Lucy Burge joins me here on Send It In. Lucy, great to see you. What are the 5-star plays BetQL has for us today?
Great to see you, PJ. 5-star play today is in the NBA, and it is on the Milwaukee Bucks money line, minus 120 against the Timberwolves. The Bucks, of course, need to start picking it up when it comes to winning, and they will start to get together at some point under Doc Rivers, but I think tonight could certainly start them getting it back together at home. The Bucks have won 5 of their last 6 games. The Timberwolves have lost 2 of their last 3 on the road, and there's BetQL trend, of course, in their favor here. Chris Finch is 18-36 in a road game where the total is 220 to 229 while coaching Minnesota. The Bucks are also averaging 10 more points scored per game than the Timberwolves at 123 to 113. So the BetQL model loves Bucks money line as a 5-star play tonight.
Yeah, it should be a really good game in the NBA tonight, the Bucks and the T-Wolves. Lucy, what about you? What are you looking at tonight? What are some of your favorite bets?
Yes, so my first one is in the NHL. It is Bruins money line. The Bruins suffered an embarrassing loss in their last game. Their loss to the Flames, but I think they can get back on track here against the Canucks. At home, the Bruins have won 5 of their last 7, so I think this will not be another W for the Bruins tonight against the Canucks. And then I have a Connecticut school parlay here. I have in college basketball, Fairfield money line and CCSU money line parlay. My brother happens to be getting his master's degree at CCSU right now, so I'm taking their money line. This is plus 110 at BetMGM for both of these heavy favorites together. CCSU has won 4 of their last 5 games and 4 of their last 5 at home, and Sacred Heart, who they are up against tonight, has lost 8 of their last 9 games on the road. This will be at CCSU. And they lost 2 of their last 4 games overall. And as the favorite, CCSU is 7-2, and they have won their last 4 games as the favorite as well. And as for Fairfield, they are coming off of a win, and they have won 4 of their last 6, and they have won 5 of their last 6 games at home. So there's a lot to like here because they're facing Ryder, and their opponent tonight is 3-11 on the road. So I like both of these teams to get wins tonight, plus 110 at BetMGM for this parlay.
Lucy, I love a good narrative bet. I like it. Let's go CCSU. Let's talk about your Red Sox, Lucy. What was your reaction when you found out that Netflix was going to be filming them?
Yeah, my honest reaction, PJ, was this is not great because now my first thought was the world now is going to see this team and potentially do what they did last year. And I don't want to say that they are not a great team. They're not. I'm just going to say they're not a great team. And now they're on a world stage on Netflix where everyone gets to see it. However, I am now a little bit excited for this because maybe having the cameras follow them will inspire them to be better somehow, and they will get better. I think that this is actually exciting now. I have turned the turntables have turned on how I feel about this, because I think some stars will be born, one of them being Tristan Casas. I think the personalities of these players will shine, and I think that this will inspire them to be a team that is better than a lot of people think they are going to be. So I'm kind of excited for this, and I hope this is a season that we will want to rewatch when this documentary does come out, because I am excited, but there's part of me that's very worried about how this team is going to look. How are they going to shine this up for Netflix? Because it could be a really tough season. They could be out of contention very early, and I'm a little worried about that. But there's some storylines there that could make for good television on Netflix. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I can see that, Lucy. I'm excited that Netflix, like all these sports, right? We're getting a behind the scenes look. For so long it was Hard Knocks, and now we're getting looks in all these different sports. So it's very cool. All right, Lucy, we're here in Las Vegas. We're only 3 days away from the big game. It's the last time I'm going to see you before Chiefs and 49ers. So give me all your bets. What do you like? Who's going to win? What are your props? What are we betting?
Yes, so I like the Chiefs. To take a side here, Chiefs money line. I cannot take anybody but Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, especially in the Super Bowl, especially as an underdog. Underdog Patrick Mahomes, it doesn't sit well with me to bet against them. As Bill Burr said on With You, PJ, last week, the Chiefs just know what they're doing. And I could not agree with that more. And I just feel like this is their time. They're going to win again. They won last year, but to win the Super Bowl again, this team just is so good that the Niners are good as well, of course, but I think it's going to be the Chiefs in the end. I have some exotic props that I also love, and my favorite one being the Gatorade color being red. Got this at plus 500, and there was some pushback. I got some pushback on Twitter for this because people are saying they're not going to be drinking fruit punch. It's never been red. It's not going to be red. There are going to be Taylor Swift Easter eggs throughout this game, so I think the Gatorade will be one of them. I think it will be red, and then you can get props for like Taylor Swift's lipstick color, what color shirt she's going to be wearing when she gets off the plane. Those are ones I'm staying away from, but also Usher's first song, I like it to be Oh My God. I think that was plus 800 for the halftime show.
I love it. Yeah, we had Minty Betts on earlier this week. She was talking about the Gatorade color being red. I like that. I'm going to tell you guys on that bet. So great stuff.
Oh, yes,
Lucy,
I
great
love that.
seeing you. Great seeing you. Enjoy the game, and we'll talk again next week.
Yeah, PJ, I'll see you on the other side. Go Chiefs.
See you on the other side, Lucy. For those people who want to continue to bet but don't have the time to research each individual game, you need to download the BetQL app. It ranks each game on a 1 to 5 star scale based on its unbeatable analysis from spreads and over-unders to player props. Stay up to date and bet confidently with BetQL's help. Time to wrap up the show. PJ's Plays got a little bit over a minute to go, so any questions that you guys have, send it in to us here in the final minute. My prop lock, continuing our theme of Super Bowl 58 props, Christian McCaffrey over 20.5 first quarter rushing yards, right? The Chiefs know the 49ers are going to run the ball. The 49ers know that the Chiefs know that they're going to run the ball. It's going to be a battle of who can stop who. I like CMC to get 21 or more yards in the first quarter. That is my prop lock of the day. Stay away game is going to be number 8 Arizona, minus 5.5 at Utah. In the Pac-12, those games in Utah and Colorado are always tricky. Arizona's lost a bunch of conference games they shouldn't have lost this year. I'm going to stay away from Arizona and Utah. My dog of the day is going to be that 3-ball with Matsuyama, Scheffler, and Wyndham Clark, and I'll take Hideki at the plus 300. I think all 3 guys have really good weeks, so I'm going to take the guy with the best price at 3-1 to have the best day today in round 1 with Hideki. Shawnee Sharp has Kobe White over 5.5 assists, and my best bet is going to be the Pacers team total over at 127.5. That total against the Warriors is 249.5. Warriors' second game of a back-to-back. Indiana's at home. Their offense is so good. Give me Pacers team total over. To recap, our best bets for the day here on a Thursday on Send It In. CMC over 20.5 first quarter rushing yards. Arizona, Utah, stay away game. Matsuyama against Scheffler and Wyndham Clark today. Our dog of the day. And Pacers team total over 127.5 against the Warriors. Thanks again to Jared Smith for joining us. Casey Hudson is going to join me live tomorrow for Model Making Money. We wrap up the week from here in Vegas. You better you bet from Radio Row. 3 o'clock Eastern time, 12 p.m. Central or Western time, Pacific time. Make sure you check that out. We'll see you tomorrow.